First game go Lucian Nami. Definitely doesn't seem to be their best sort of way of playing, but we will see it here as we are now loaded onto this rift for our second game of the upper bracket here in week 2, Impunity versus PSG.
And coming back, I guess, to the Lucian Nami, the fact that it was, first picked as well is pretty crazy, especially with some of the other prior picks we've seen in the other series, stuff like the Xayah, the Vi, and even the Sejuani just being left up and available is pretty interesting. But maybe, if we kind of look, hold on, as we have a level 1, if we kind of look back at a lot of these series, something we've seen kind of come up time and time again is just how important that early priority is. And Lucian Nami, I think, as a blind pick, while you might lose it in the first couple of levels, it definitely guarantees that you have it from pretty much then on, and also gives a lot of priority over the mid wave in that mid game. So if PSG, they feel like they can snowball the game enough with it, can certainly do well. And I think with the Lucian Nami, it doesn't really fall off damage-wise. It's more just it becomes more and more difficult for Lucian to actually deal damage freely. Can become quite hard as he's, relatively short range, especially compared to some of the other champs as the game goes on. But if you can get ahead, and especially if you always feel comfortable dashing forward, it's not like you get outscaled damage-wise.
Definitely don't, as we see level 1 now. Nice trade there from Woody onto Atlin. We'll be able to sustain a bit of that up with that red gun. Woody now taking a bit of damage from nature, but looking good here, level 1 so far for PSG. Push is an advantage for Impunity, but that health on Ophelio is not looking too hot at the moment.
Has taken himself quite a bit of damage, but as I believe the Severum, the red gun, as well as a bunch of potions there. Mission already getting very aggressive in this lane, hard abusing the level advantage, gets a great trade onto Yubao and actually forces him off XP. So he can't even get that level 2. Mission, we've seen, despite what may happen to him after the laning phase, always does extremely well early game. Yubao still hasn't managed to hit level 2. God, I love what I'm seeing from Mission.
Yeah, really, really good control of this mid lane, and looks like Yubao going to have to back and use teleport here at level 1, so major advantage here already in mid lane for Mission on this Orianna.
Wow, yeah, TP forced out so early. Unfortunately, your first base, you go home and buy a pink ward. Not the start that Yubao was maybe expecting, but you got to be happy with that as Mission. Has the first strike as well, so going to scale extremely well into this game, especially if he can get some of those big ultis off. And I think wise decision by Yubao to go towards that corrupting plot. Obviously, Ahri has a lot of sustain anyway, but it is a pretty tough matchup. Do need all the sustain you can get, especially if you are going to do a lot of trading in level 1.
Yeah, so interesting to look at here. Wako has actually gone for the stopwatch in his runes. I wonder if that is simply sort of an answer to the Vi, because obviously getting around those objectives as we come mid lane, as Clean's forced out from that nice hook by nature, and lanes are going really well across the board here for the side of Impunity.
They are, but I think when we look at PSG, we don't really think of them as a laning team. What often happens with PSG is they get into the mid game, relatively even or maybe even slightly behind, and then they just kind of go off from there, especially Waka in those team fights. I think statistically, they actually are normally ahead at 15 minutes, but it never really feels like they're dominating in the same way that a team like Frank or CFO might. They're kind of slow scalers, but they're extremely consistent at their play style, and I think without a doubt, especially off the back of Wako, have the best team fighting in the league. Jinjia as well, I think, brings a lot of that consistent team fight carry potential that some of the other teams often lack.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, Yubao hasn't shown too much of sort of his carrying outside of the Rise. He's looked really good on that pick, but yeah, this is sort of why I do worry about that Lucian Nami from this team, is they do often rely on Wako in these late game team fights, and Lucian just doesn't offer as much as the likes of Xayah, Zeri, or Aphelios.
Yeah, it can be difficult, especially when you're up against that Vi and the Jax, right? Like when you're relatively short range, obviously can be very difficult. I do like the stopwatch, as you said. Maybe it's just a kind of one-shot answer to the Vi, gets you one more team fight win that could be the difference, right, between giving over your shutdown to a carry or not. As Mission continues to bully this lane very hard in the 1v1 and doing a great job of not letting Yubao pair up with Jinjia and start to move around the map. And then that could maybe be worrisome for PSG. If they can't accelerate this Lucian Nami, it's going to be much more difficult for them to feel confident with being able to dash forward, especially, again, when Alex on the Vi kind of always has threat onto you. Looks like a lot of members around mid right now. We might see some sort of 2v2. Top trading pretty heavily as well. We've seen this matchup so many times at this point, but it does seem like they pretty much solo kill each other every single game. Impunity, they're starting up the Dragon, currently maintain both mid and bot priority, taking the leaf out of CFO's book and really using that to its full potential. I'm going to grab that drag. Mission just zoning Yubao off the wave completely. Yeah, without TP, Yubao, he's going to have to go home, and we'll see what he buys. Don't think he has enough for Chapter.
Just crazy mid lane play at the moment from Mission, and I think importantly with that Cloud Drake going over the side of Impunity, they are sort of the team that will scale better just from their champions, and getting that early Dragon means there's a 5-minute extra timer on any potential Dragon win con at minimum for PSG, and I feel like that puts Impunity in such a nice position this early on into the game.
Definitely does look like it, yeah. I think that against any other team, we're thinking Impunity's off to a great start here, but PSG, they're just so consistent at no matter how hard they fall behind, they just are so good at team fighting in the mid game, and especially from Wako. Just manages to always claw back some pretty insane deficits. And here, obviously, while it is winning lanes and in theory an outscaling composition, obviously the gold is very even, so it's not going to snowball, at least for now. But even just kind of putting the Lucian and Ari from snowballing, it's pretty good, I think, as a start here. Ooh.
Okay, so they're looking here for a 4-man dive potentially, but Alan will just be seen there, and it looks like with that it won't be possible, so good work from Alex to be in the right place at the right time. But yeah, I don't know. I like the start here from Impunity, and I gotta say for you guys watching here, with PSG games, we often get to like the 20-minute mark without a single kill. I mean, there's actually often quite a lot of action that just everyone lives on such low health bars, and the game just keeps going on and going on. So do get prepared for that, I feel, as we now coming towards the 7-minute mark, or 8-minute mark even.
Yeah, some heavy trades in the bot lane. Potentially want to get something started. Like you said, there's some action, but can't really lead to anything, at least just yet. We might see some action, though, around this Herald spawning in 15 seconds, and both junglers are on that side of the map. While Mission does currently have that mid priority, has to be very careful. Yubao has Ignite with that spellbook, and Mission, yeah, he's not going to face check, isn't going to be caught out here, but Jinjia, he might look for something. The Charm connects.
Yeah, Charm will land. Any follow-up? Not for now, but Mission, importantly, gets chunked out quite a bit here prior to this sort of look for Rift Herald here by PSG. Will be started by Jinjia.
Spotted out, though. I wonder, will there be a contest? I feel like there should be. It looks like Nature is pathing out of base. Maybe even Atlan's coming as well. So we might just see a 5v5 on the first Rift Herald, as all members on the map currently collapsing towards it. Something you don't often see is both ADCs coming. Normally one decides to trade plates, especially the Aphelios, but PSG, they have too much control. And I think they should be able to pick it up. It's whether or not Impunity can play for a fight after, but I think they're honestly just a bit too late.
Yeah, they are. So nice pick up there by PSG. Get their Rift Herald secured. Now, where do you sort of look to place it? I don't think it can go mid, just with how Mission has got absolute control over the lane. You feel like it almost certainly has to go bot. Use sort of Wako on his Serrated Dirk Noonquiver spike here to sort of push in this lane, get the Herald down, maybe bump up some items and get towards that Gale Force, which is so important here on this Lucian Nami combo.
I think you're right. That should be the play. It's just whether or not do you go straight bot or do you try and go through mid? Because I think if you can bring Yubao down to the play, it allows you to potentially zone people off the tower or maybe get a little bit more. I think it's so hard without that mid priority. And Yubao definitely can't get it in the 1v1. Mission just a bit too strong in the laning phases. Alex will show down here, clear out just a little bit of control, kind of by PSG's ball lane, or sorry, by Impunity's ball lane. A little bit of a reprieve from this jungle pressure. But I mean, so far, despite things going completely even, I would say it is slightly towards Impunity, just because they do have the better scaling and they have that dragon to kind of back it up. But it's still obviously extremely close, and it could go either way, you know, just in the next fight, right? If PSG's bot lane, for example, manages to win some sort of fight, you have to feel it'll be the bot tower heralded not soon after, and we could see a pretty big gold swing in just a matter of moments. And Junjia, he is around bot. There's a pink ward in the try as well. Goes Thresh. They're a bit difficult to gank. It looks like Jinjia is going to commit to the reset, so maybe looks to come topside. I mean, there has been a lot of heavy trading in the Cassante Jax matchup, although actually looks like he's just resetting and pathing straight back out bot, so it's just going to be as strong as possible for whatever bot play is going to be forced here. Is there any way they can get Yubao down? It kind of feels like they can't. Instead, it's just going to try go for the 3v3. We'll see where Alex passed out of base. He is just walking mid right now. Obviously, with the Viol, could maybe gank the Ahri, but she still has a lot of dashes.
Orianna does have priority here in the mid, as we have seen pretty much this whole game, but Impunity here have to be really careful. Maybe Wako's aggression showing signs that, whoa, so hold up, we do see a dive here. Driver will pick up the first blood solo kill. Oh, just won't quite live there, so it is traded, but importantly, first blood going over to that Jax is massive start in this top lane 1v1.
Very nice there by Driver, and true to the Cassandre Jax matchup, they do solo kill one another. It's slightly better for Driver though, as he got that first blood, and I believe he has a wave that he can maybe TP back to. We'll see whether or not he goes for it. Now, 3 members in the bot side here at PSG. Looks like Mission just lost his flash mid and is maybe going to die.
Going to go down here, solo to Yubao, so despite the advantage Mission was slowly gaining for himself, loses it all with a misplay here in the mid lane, and Yubao now might even be able to start getting some control over this mid wave from that.
We'll take a look at what happened topside. Looks like Driver found Arja recalling. Oh, just barely stopped him. The all-out came through. Pretty nice attempt there, I think, from Arja, but Driver really knew his limits, went for the dive, and I'd be curious to see what happened mid. It must have been a charm under tower, you'd have to think, because Mission, you know, he was playing so well in this matchup, had such a big lead, but I think just got charmed and ignited probably, lost a bit too much health. Have to see how it went down. Yeah, so the wave was cleared out. Yeah, charm does connect. It's one tower shot is all it takes. And just Ahri with that chase down and the ignite. Great job there by Yubao to completely turn that matchup around.
Yeah, importantly from that, it will be the second dragon now picked up for PSG, so one apiece. As we do now see Woody getting hooked up, he's getting extremely low. Doesn't look like they'll be able to finish him for now, but low health bars as Junji now looking for the dive here. Will use that Cyclone, but stunned under tower. Can he pick up? He does pick up one kill. He picks up a second and does go down. So 2 kills here for Wako and only 1 for the side of Impunity.
Much better there for the side of PSG. And what you want to see there is the fact that Wako is the one who got a kill. Also managed to live, so was able to crash the wave. I think really nice play there. Honestly, Impunity, they were doing a great job, but suddenly kind of fell apart on the mid and bot side. And now, despite the fact that they had their winning lanes, I would say the snowball that PSG needs has definitely been given over. You got the Gale Force and the Dirt completed for Wako, as well as Everfrost now on Yubao. Should be able to lane pretty comfortably. And Impunity, they have to be very careful, I think, of these mid-game fights before 3 or 2 items come in.
Woody will be shot-waved, and he does go down now, so that's a kill picked up for Mission. And now both mid laners having 1 kill. Woody going too far alone without vision there. Nice hook by nature to find that.
I wonder what Woody was even trying to go for there. I think just, honestly, wasn't really his turn to contest the river, as now Impunity, they might even bring Mission down to bot lane. They know Wako doesn't have flash. He has the cleanse, though, for the hook. And with all this control in bot side, Wako's going to have to give up some waves, which is pretty costly, right? And this is what Woody's death means, is 2 plates, looks like, going over to Atlan, and a lot of CS denied.
Wako doesn't even have his hands on his keyboard at the moment. There he goes. But yeah, that was like 2 waves lost, even 2 plates potentially picked up there by Atlan. I didn't quite see. It does look like it was, so plate advantage for Impunity. They're actually at a gold advantage despite being a kill down now. And a lot of that does come off, as you correctly pointed out, the death of Woody.
Will be real interesting to see this next dragon fight. Lots of trades going on the top side. I think Impunity now, unless they can isolate 1v1s or unless they can find a pick before the fight starts, probably want to avoid team fighting until second items. I think at this 1 item spike, it probably is favored for the side of PSG, although Woody doesn't have his mandate yet, so maybe could delay for that. 2 more minutes on the drag. Will he be able to pick it up in time? Maybe if they can get some gold off this bot tower. Mission, though, is pretty hard to siege into. Yeah, the culling is used, but honestly doesn't really get anything.
Oh, nice shockwave. Will find a lot of damage onto Wako as well as clear out that wave, so nothing to find there now as Alex starts up Herald on the top side. Is spotted out by a ward, but with Junji now in that bot side jungle, doesn't look like there'll be any contest, and will be just the tower traded for Rift Herald here.
The trade it is a lot of gold that goes over to PSG's bot lane, exactly where you want it to be put. And now where do you use this Herald? I mean, top lane could be the obvious choice just because it's so low already. But breaking mid seems pretty important as we see, you know,
all out used, and now Driver under the tower will pop his own ult, and don't know what he's going to be able to look for here as Alex comes in, will find the Vault Breaker as well as cease and desist. Nice unstoppable there from Ozzy to delay. Can they find this kill? He will just get away. Actually picks up the kill on the back end there on Alex as Junji now chasing down Driver. Looks like it will be disengaged from, but nice kill there by Ozzy, and I guess Alex just going a bit too hard against this tank in that Cassante.
Yeah, it's just so hard to kill, and I think importantly, that buys PSG quite a lot of time to delay anything happening with this Herald. They can afford to push out the waves and maybe even set up for this Dragon. And take a look at what happened. So I guess Driver was just taken so far into Arj's tower and lost a lot of HP very early on. Didn't really feel comfortable trading back, especially not with mid wave or the wave there and Jinjia on the way. I think initial chunk is good, but chasing with the ult honestly just gets Alex killed. The tower deals most of the damage. Trying to flash out, but nice outplay there from Arjun. Manages to keep himself alive and trade 1-for-1, or trade 1-0.
Used here, finding a good amount of damage on Atlan, and without Bloodthirster yet, even with that Severin, will not be able to heal up most of that damage. So, important chunk there found by Wako, and showing the strength of Lucian in this middle stages of the game.
For sure, yeah, especially on those mid waves. I would expect this just to go the way of PSG. I think Impunity probably don't want to fight too much until they have 2 items completed. Can instead just play for that gold injection, maybe try trade top and mid towers. If you can just auto attack down the top tower, maybe Herald mid, those could be your plays available here. It looks like there's a hole in the rift.
Yeah, what happened to the tower?
Okay, top tower does eventually go down, so Driver manages to pick up that gold. Is very close to Wako in terms of overall player gold. This second drag, though, secured for PSG. The Herald still hasn't been used, so they didn't find that opportunity to Herald mid while PSG were on Dragon. And that's going to make it much more difficult to Herald mid later on, because Lucian Nami is always going to be the ones that have control of that. Yeah, the tower is even being sieged down. Wako almost gets hooked, had the cleanse just in case, but it looks like this will be Impunity's bot lane, probably forced to reset. And could even be Wako staying on the map for more. We'll have to see if he ends up pushing this tower or not. Mission, he's going to walk up. Probably will just look to clear out this wave. So nice kind of juggling here of the mid waves by the side of Impunity. Going to make sure that their mid tower that's so important in this game does remain for now. But Herald, still hasn't found a place to be used. And 18 minutes in, it's, honestly not too often that you see the second Herald kept for so long. But Alex just hasn't really found an opportunity to use it yet.
Yeah, and incredibly, I think this is the first game we've really had here in the playoffs where 18 minutes in, we are completely deadlocked on gold. So obviously PSG's gold primarily is on this Lucian, and then the next 3 members in the game are all Impunity. So it's really on Wako here to be able to pull through, especially in this mid game where Lucian does really excel. But if this goes on too long and it's a deadlock for much longer, you have to really favor Impunity and how their champions are. And I think to that, it's so important that they did pick up that first Dragon, buying an extra 5 minutes for any potential Cloud Soul coming through. As Driver now looking to take this tower, will get it because of that Demolish proc, and more gold onto this Jax is going to spell a lot harder of a time for Ozzy in this isolated 1v1 in the side lanes.
Does, yeah. I mean, Driver already had 2 items extremely early into the game here. As mid tower takes a lot of chunk from the Herald, but doesn't go down. Might go down a bit later on. Ooh, Nature narrowly avoids getting charmed. Doesn't look like there's going to be any follow-up, but a nice little bit of damage traded over would have been nice. Top laners.
Drive has to be careful here. Junjia coming down, will have speed from his jungle pair as All Out will be used. Double stun landed by Driver, but he will likely be going down. He does jump away for now. Fail clone there from Junjia will just delay the death a little bit more. Eventually picked up there by Arzi, and that will be his 3rd of the game. As we see mid lane now, Impunity does manage to pick up the tower, but will have to run away after.
Man, wow. The kill going over to Arja again is, maybe not the best, but it's still pretty solid, honestly. Having a fed Cassante, you definitely feel the impact of that in those team fights. It was Jinjia who had to commit the flash, though, and won't have it for this 3rd Dragon team fight, which I think is kind of important. I think with Wukong with the flash makes it just so much more difficult for the Impunity carries to be able to position around that. But it was Driver that lost his flash and his life as well, so you'd have to say it's worth it. 2 minutes away on this drag. We'll see a replay, and I think, honestly, Driver was just kind of a bit too far up. Doesn't have any vision in this bot side jungle, and also knows that his jungler is on the top side. Perhaps just assumed that Junjie would be kind of waiting in the wings around mid, but was not to be. And, I mean, maybe also thought that he just had the escape potential, right? He ultimately did commit flash and almost 2 wards to get out, but it wasn't quite enough. There's just too much chase that comes out from both the K'Sante and the Wukong. Ooh. Almost got out.
That was so close. But ultimately does go down. As we see, gold is actually now in favor of Impunity ever so slightly. Just the 1k here at 21 minutes. So despite that death, the tower pickup mid does actually lead to a gold advantage here for Impunity. And again, I mean, now that the mid tower is gone for the side of PSG, it does make setting up around these dragons just that much easier for Impunity, although it is obviously hard because Wako will consistently get priority over this mid wave with the current state of how Lucian is. Driver, though, does take that blast clone into 2. Will have to use that ward again, but Junjie hot on his trails. Tidal wave comes through, will land the knock up as well as Cyclone, and Wako picks up the kill. So 2 deaths in pretty quick succession here from Driver, really stopping Impunity from getting anything done. Will importantly have teleport available just before this dragon, but not what you want to see out of the Impunity top laner.
It really isn't. Driver's been such a shining light for Impunity in the past, and even in this game found himself a lot of gold. I believe got solo gold on both the top tier 1 and the bot tier 1, and was so accelerated, but a couple kills given over, especially a kill now picked up by Wako. It's going to make that next team fight pretty difficult, and only 20 seconds on the 3rd drag. You have to expect both teams will have their eyes on this. Although resets are pretty late from PSG. Wako's still in base, so they're not going to have control over the area. Maybe it's Impunity that do.
Okay, I want to say now that Atlan, importantly, he didn't go Bloodthirster this game. He goes second item IE, so we'll be able to do a bit more damage just straight up, but a lot less survivability on this Aphelios. Does have the white as well as green gun, so we'll be able to do a lot of damage from pretty far away here with that combo, as we do see an initiation from Yubao, as onto Driver, potentially not the best. Cease and desist now used onto Junjie. All out now used onto Alex, and he just goes down, but Dragon picked up for the side of Impunity. It's a death for that Dragon, as PSG now have inside track, looking to try and get this mid lane inner. And with Alex dead, it's dangerous for Impunity to go anywhere near this team.
Yeah, PSG, they managed to take 2 towers off the back of that, despite giving over the Dragon. It's nice gold picked up, maybe looking for more.
Alan. Arzi now getting hooked under tower, but he's just too tanky to deal with. Junjie now will get Shockwave, getting extremely low. Does eventually go down. Importantly, Mission picks up that kill. Essence won't find a snare just yet, as 1 kill traded back, but the 2 towers there for PSG does give them a slight gold advantage now. Teleporting in now is Mission. Maybe they're looking for this Baron. It does look like most members are healthy enough, but Atlan has to be so careful. No mana and only half HP here on this Aphelios.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty heavy contest. It is a 5v4 nature. He's kind of looking for it.
Yeah, Yubao does have access to Smite here, so have to be careful of that, as Alex trying to guard out Yubao from looking for any potential steal. Junjie are not in the area at all, so Baron down to 2k health now. Arzi looking. Yubao will go in, but smited away by Alex. And now Yubao getting 1v1 on the side by Driver. Can they disengage? It looks like that's probably best. 3-man knock up from Arzi with that Q. They will find 2 off the back end, but Baron picked up for Impunity.
Wow, all things considered, I actually think it's pretty even for both sides. Kind of crazy how long this game has remained kind of in this stalemate. Yeah, ultimately it's only a 300 or 400 gold difference despite that. So Impunity, they do a nice job, I think, of starting up this Baron. They know that Junjie is not around, but they take a lot of damage doing it. I feel like Mission, you know, he's spending a lot of time zoning off. Probably needed to, honestly, just deal a bit more damage to the Baron. It is difficult, though. You don't want to let them in. And once the Baron was actually picked up, I think PSG probably should have, or sorry, Impunity should have just looked for backing out. Once you got Wako's stopwatch, probably can just leave. But Alex, he goes towards that K'Sante, and really nice knockup from Argent, manages to take down 2 off the back end there. And denying those Barons, I think, is very important, as well as just, you know, buying more time, getting a bit more gold. And as we return to it, it's a 400 gold difference despite all that.
And look at Waco's damage there around that Baron pit, but we'll have to see, can Impunity get anything done with this Baron buff? Currently on, I believe it's Atlan, Driver, and Mission, perhaps? Yeah, it is. Okay, so those three members having it. Driver now going towards this bot lane, looking for the push both in bot and mid. Mission gets chunked out a bit as Junjie will flash Cyclone. Can they find anything? Atlan does have the correct guns for this engagement. Yubel will charm him up as Driver teleports in. Goes golden, does Yubel. Can they find anything? Hook will land onto Arze. He is so tanky, but Driver diving the tower will find one and then promptly flash away as well as wall jump over that wall. So 2 kills now found for Impunity. Baron's still active. They're going to look for this tower and it looks like it will go down.
What more can they get? I mean, they've got tier 1. Are they just going to back off? It looks like they will. I'm surprised they didn't go for the inhib, but I think maybe just want to kind of reset, spend all their gold, know that they're very strong and probably outscale in this game. And this is maybe when we're starting to question PSG's Lucian priority as well as just giving over the Vi, because we kind of saw Junjie actually found a very good engage onto Mission, and I think the Thresh Lantern had timed out. Any other champion, he'd probably be dead, but the Vi lockdown just makes sure that Junjie doesn't have a way out of it. As we'll see, I guess, Waco do the bot wave.
All right, here's the replay we needed. Oh, we're speeding up.
All right,
time lapse.
Coming back towards mid. I'm glad we saw that. Okay, so the engage onto Mission, we didn't quite get to see it. I'm not sure why, but hey, Yubel, the Zhonya's came out. I don't believe, I think it was, yeah, okay, nice block there from RJ. It saved Yubel for a while, but Driver, you know, despite giving over a couple deaths, is still extremely accelerated in this game. Did feel confident enough just to jump forward. Very
Smiles
happy
here
for the Impunity fellas.
Absolutely, and now we see 2k gold lead for Impunity, probably the most we've seen so far in this game. 27 minutes in though, and honestly we've seen this position for PSG before and they still manage to claw it back and take wins. And honestly, Arze 5-1-1 on this Cassante is going to be extremely scary as this game progresses, but if there's any AD carry to chomp down a tank, it's Aphelios, as Driver will take half his health to that culling there.
Yeah, should be able to sustain back up though. It is the Ocean Rifts, there's a lot of honey fruit around.
Alan starting this Dragon. Doesn't have the best guns for sort of fighting, but is able to actually find sort of engages for his team perhaps with those guns. This is a little bit better, and so we do see Alex here and Junjie are sort of marking themselves. No jungler near the Dragon for now. Have to be so careful about this shockwave. Waco will get stunned up by the Moonlight Vigil as Driver finds a 2-man counter-strike, and it will be a double kill found for Impunity. Hook does land on the clone for now, but Junjie getting chased down. Will the blue pit be enough to get away? No. Flash Flay and Hook found from nature as Junjie are now trying to get away still. Another great use of the clone. Looks like he will be okay for now, and somehow Atlan is now just in front of 2 tanks. Is he going to be able to find Junjie?
Oh my
Doesn't
God,
look
Junjie.
like it. Alex now flashing. Junjie are actually delaying so much potential play here for Impunity. Alex still chasing him. There'll be another clone available.
Oh
Can
my
he
God.
guess correctly? I don't think he will, and Junjie will be out, yeah.
Wow, Junjie, he just ran rings around them. I think it was good sort of by Alex to chase down and just stop the recall, but I think committing your flash as Vi there is pretty questionable. You kind of feel like the Vi flash ult is pretty much a guaranteed death onto a carry later on. But it was a super nice ulti here from Atlan. Managed to root 3 with it, and Driver, who's just in position on the flank, flashes onto Waco, and he's just taken out, you know, so early. Both the Lucian and Nami deleted before they deal any damage. Was the shutdown as well picked up by Mission. Sam, we didn't get to see some of that chase down, but it is now the BT and the stopwatch for Atlan. And Atlan's been having a great playoff so far. Obviously, he only has those 3 games against Bliss, but, you know, wasn't really the kind of main factor of his team, at least earlier in the split, but definitely later on started to pick it up with a lot of Draven performances. And now a great game here on the Aphelios so far.
Definitely has been, and you feel like time's kind of running out here for PSG. I know it's kind of blasphemy to say against them, but with the Lucian, instead of the likes of more of those late game carry 80 carries, you don't see PSG really having the greatest way back into this. We've seen them falter on the Lucian Nami 3 times before, and it looks like it could potentially lead to a 4th one here as Baron now alive. Impunity looking to get control over this river area, and PSG do, interestingly enough, still maintain control over the first sort of mid waves, and do have sort of a pathway to that inhib, as Aze now will be hooked up, getting to half health he is at the moment. Wako extremely low, does flash away, but Atlan will find it on the back end. Now what can Driver find? Does find a stun onto Atlan as he gets so low, as well as Yubao. Junji are now the target, but can they find him? Not just yet, but Driver so fast. They will find the shutdown onto Aze. What do they choose to do? It is 3 still alive for PSG. They aren't going back yet, as Driver recalling probably will teleport to a minion, and Impunity looking to close out the game.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough wave clear for the side of PSG. Yubao, it's all up to him. Driver, he's looking forward. He gets charmed away.
Yeah, nothing so far. He will go golden. Nexus is getting attacked now. They're going to look for a kill, but I feel like you should just end. Nice 3-man bubble found there by Woody, but the Nexus will inevitably go down, and game 1 goes to Impunity.
It does, so a bit of a surprise here. I mean, I think we were expecting it to be close, but I didn't expect Impunity just to kind of destroy PSG in game 1. It kind of felt like PSG drafted very greedily in a way, right? You're kind of picking a comp that definitely needs to snowball early into a comp that not only outscales, but also has those winning lanes, right? We kind of saw that, you know, Mission building his lane, unfortunately did get solo kill, but had pressure over the lane a lot of the time, and same with bot lane. And I think that's not something you can really afford when you're playing Lucian Nami. You have to have ways to accelerate that, because if it doesn't, you kind of see what happens in those team fights, right? Where Wako, just with his short range, is punished time and time again. But I think PSG, they still played team fights well enough. They just made it extremely difficult for themselves, right? I think I would like to see a different AD carry picked. I don't think that Lucian has looked as good for PSG as their other picks. I think there's now like 4-4 on the Lucian or something, compared to just undefeated on everything else.
Yeah.
And I think as well, I feel like the Vi is really just getting too much